Hey everyone, another day hike out in the woods. No real hardcore purpose in it, just to keep myself used to carrying the pack and using some of my gear. So let's see what happens. Welcome to another edition of Bill of the North. Hopefully I can insert a dramatic tag there. Bum, 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 something like that. Okay, let's go. I think it's important to learn how your gear works, and using it at home, practicing it with it there is great. That's a good way to do it. Coming out here in the real world where it's raining and snowing and there's wind and volcanic ash coming down on top of you is a good way also to do it, and it's gives you some, I think, a little bit better practical experience, just because the little problems that occur out in the field that don't tend to occur at home, you'll be aware of them and you'll take action to prevent them from happening to you in the future, like burning my fingers on one of my previous videos. If you're already familiar with the 1, 2, 3, you know that you can just hold it in your hand or put it on your knee. That will start to warm up the fount, and the fuel inside will expand, and then you can open the valve and fuel will flow out and into the little preheat cup down there, and then you can preheat it and pressurize. You have to be real careful of where you position these extension arms. If they're too narrow or too wide apart, it's real easy to knock over your entire meal. We've got the breakfast skillet this morning: hash browns and scrambled eggs with pork sausage patty, peppers, and onions. One serving, 350 calories. So, let's hope it's filling too. Now we wait for 8 or 9 minutes. I did another video about this cook set here, and the stove fits inside it. Put this bandana on the inside to keep the stove and the pot metal separate. And the reason for that is this is brass and the pot metal is aluminum, and dissimilar metal corrosion can occur. You get that electrolysis that occurs, and I've heard of people with stoves that have been on the shelf for 10 or 20 years since they last used them, and they get it out and they find the bottom of their pot is corroded through. And I hear other people being quite loud. I don't know if it's kids, but I always like to be as quiet and unobtrusive in the woods as possible. There's a good chance that they're just going to walk down the trail that way and go right past, and they'll never know I'm here. It almost sounds like they're on horseback, and that's possible too. There's a lot of horseback riders around here. Yep, they're on horseback. You can hear and feel the horses, actually, the vibrations from the horses. Yep, they're on horseback. Two gentlemen rode right by me. I don't think they know this area very well, because they were talking about what might be right up ahead, which is in fact the trail that they're heading towards. But I was sitting here in plain view, and they were about 40 or 50 feet away from me on the trail there and didn't even look. So no harm done in either case. I don't feel like I was spying on them, but I also don't really need to interact with people unless I want to out here. So that's why I like to wear subdued clothing and keep my mouth shut. What was interesting about that was that I heard them from so far away. Now they're up on horseback, so they're probably 6 or 7 feet up, maybe higher. I'm not sure how high you are when you're on a horse, but that means that when they're talking, their voices project a lot farther. And what was cool about it also was that I could sense that they were on horses even before I could see them. There's a certain feel, when a horse is nearby, you can feel it out in the ground and the sounds that it makes when they move through the bushes and stuff. So I thought that was pretty cool, that I could determine that much information about them without even seeing them yet. Well, I'm all done, and I'm going to rate this good. On a scale of good, just okay, and poor, I'm going to call this good. I like the texture. It had just enough crunch to make it interesting. It wasn't mushy or bland. It had a good taste. Just the right amount of salt, not too much, although it's probably too much for good health, but sodium, 41%. So yeah, it's got too much for a healthy diet, but it was tasty. And for dessert, I'm going to have a cube from this emergency food ration bar. And you've seen me eat these before. The only place I know that sells them is Walmart. You could probably get them online, I would imagine. And these tend to be kind of bland, despite what they say flavor-wise. Apple cinnamon. If you drink black coffee, it's bitter, and it brings out the sweetness when you eat this. I've had a big change of plans. I've decided to have coffee just so that ration bar will taste kind of good. And that means lighting up the stove again. Not a good, wise use of fuel. I could have just heated up enough water in the first place, but you know, that's why we bring extra fuel so that we can make changes. So there's the coffee. We'll be making it now. This time I legitimately have the pot cover on the cup there, since I'm boiling water or heating it up for coffee. But I don't have to pour it. And just that can help save a little bit of stove fuel. Helps heat up the water a little. Somebody has taken the idea of the tea bag and revolutionized it by putting coffee in it. And so, you know, an old ancient idea past its time suddenly has new life. I'm just kidding. I know there's tea drinkers out there. Put the cover back on it and let it steep. So what happened here is we had a tragedy. I accidentally dumped my coffee, so I have to restart the stove. So take two on the coffee, and you know, that's why we come out here for this real-world experience, because when it comes down to it, yeah, I've used the Svea stove hundreds of times to make coffee and heat up water for meals and stuff like that, but most of that was done in the house. And I was using a different pot, and what I did here was I left the cup on top of the stove while I put the coffee bag in there, and I started to do this and I knocked it off. Now, that's a real-world experience, and I had to learn it the hard way. But you know, millions of other Svea users have probably all done the exact same thing, and I'll know next time. So the bandana is kind of one of those multi-purpose things. It protects the stove and the pots from each other and protects my hands from burning, and I can use it to wipe stuff down with. And they are so thin and lightweight that you can wash them out and they dry rapidly, usually within an hour. So consider taking one with you. Sponsored by the American Bandana Council. So just a few thoughts about using the stove out here. I know when you're at home and you're practicing, of course that's good experience, but you know, you've got your stove, it's sitting up on the kitchen stove on the range, or maybe it's on your deck, on your grill or something like that. Well, I'm out here in the woods and my stove's on the ground and I'm sitting on a log next to it. That means the ergonomics are different. I'm reaching for stuff differently. My gear is sitting over here and my pack's over here. So, you know, if the water starts to boil over and you go to reach it and you burn yourself, you know, you don't have a towel or your bandana necessarily handy. So again, it's all minor stuff, but it's important to practice as you would use it in real life, just to learn those minor differences. I guess that's true of everything, all of your gear. You know, we've all seen the guy who goes out camping and arrives after dark and they try to set up a tent they've never set up before. You know, we don't want to be that guy or gal. You know, we want to know our gear and have recent experience with it too. And that's a good excuse to get out. You know, you're testing your gear, staying proficient with it. So that's all I have to say. Enjoy your day. Thanks for watching.